And yeah, I'm on time. What time is it? Yeah, I'm on time. I'm on time. I'm on time. Thank you so much for being here. This is Brewed in the Bloodline, completely different from the gaming streams that I do here on the channel. And yeah, today's story is about Ruth, my namesake. For those of you that don't know my actual name, it is Ruth. So let me go ahead and do my intro. Any announcements? I don't think I have any announcements, and we'll hop right into it. So thank you so much for being here. I think I went ahead and let everyone know that I am live. Let me just double check this sound here. If you can't hear me, please let me know. All right, let's do the intro. What's up? What's up? What's up? I'm Ice Brew Latte and I am caffeinated and motivated. And today's brew is Brewed in the Bloodline. Today's episode is episode 2, Ruth, Fields of Redemption. All right. And if you are new here, when I do my deep dives, I usually have my notes somewhere nearby. So if you see my eyes darting around, I'm reading my typed out notes that I have. Okay? Just making sure I'm not missing anything. Okay, let's get started. This is a no nonsense, stream. So we'll just get right into it. So, today's theme is From Famine to Favor, how loyalty, love, and divine alignment position Ruth within the lineage of Jesus. The scripture focus for today is Ruth chapters 1 through 4 and Matthew chapter 1 verse 5. Right? Coffee crew, welcome back to Brewed in the Bloodline, where every story we sip reveals another layer of God's plan, a plan that has been brewing since the beginning of time. Last week, we talked about Rahab, the woman who hid Israel's spies in Jericho, tied a scarlet cord from her window, and became a part of Jesus' family tree. But today, we're moving from the rubble of Jericho to the rolling fields of Bethlehem, where another woman's courage and loyalty will forever change history. This is the story of Ruth, a Moabite woman whose devotion brewed redemption into the bloodline of the Messiah. Hi, Bats. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you're doing well. I have to keep reminding myself to look here for chat. Welcome in, welcome in. I'm so glad you could make it. So, setting the scene, famine and loss. The book opens with famine, not just hunger, spiritual emptiness. A man named, I might butcher this, Elimelech leaves Bethlehem and the house of bread. Bethlehem, also known as the house of bread, and moves his family to Moab, a pagan nation. His wife Naomi and their 2 sons follow, searching for survival. But Moab wasn't the promised land, and soon Elimelech dies, and both sons Mahlon and Chilion also die. Naomi is left empty, bitter, and heartbroken, her dreams buried in foreign soil. She tells her daughters-in-law, Orpah and Ruth, go back to your people. Class was canceled. Oh, okay. Well, enjoy your time off. Yeah. Having class canceled is, I mean, I don't know if it's a treat for you, but it was a treat for me when we were going to college. So glad you could be here. But yeah, so she tells her daughters-in-law, Orpah and Ruth, go back to your people. That is where, but Ruth's response, sorry, I'm distracted. But Ruth's response, that is where her story turns. So Ruth 1:16 through 17 says, but Ruth replied, don't hurt me. Oh, hello, thank you you so much for the biddies. Thank you so much. Ace, welcome in, welcome in. This is Brewed in the Bloodline. We're talking about Ruth today. If you're familiar, Ruth is a very short book in the Bible that tells the tale of redemption and how Ruth is linked to Jesus' lineage. So welcome in, welcome in. Okay. So Ruth 1 verse 16 and 17 say, "But Ruth replied, 'Don't urge me to leave you or to turn back from you. Where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God.'" This wasn't just a poetic vow. It was a covenant of faith. Ruth, the Moabite widow, renounced her gods, her homeland, and her future security to follow Naomi and the God of Israel. It's like saying, even if everything I've ever known falls apart, I trust the God you serve. That's faith brewed in pure devotion. Back in Bethlehem, Naomi and Ruth are poor. No husband, no protection. But Ruth goes to work. She gleans in the fields, collecting leftover grain. And that's where divine alignment steps in. The field she happens to wander into belongs to Boaz, a wealthy and kind man, and a distant relative of Naomi's late husband. Ruth 2 verse 3 says, "As it turned out, she was working in a field belonging to Boaz." As it turned out. Those words hold so much quiet power. It wasn't coincidence. It was God's providence. When Boaz notices Ruth, he's struck, not by her beauty, but by her character. He's heard of her loyalty to Naomi. Boaz protects her, feeds her, and blesses her. He tells her, "May the Lord, under whose wings you have come to take refuge, richly reward you." That's verse 12 from chapter 2. Every gesture, every handful of grain foreshadows the redemption that's coming. How we feeling so far? I hope you guys are really enjoying this. Ruth happens to be one of my favorite books in the Bible, not because she's my namesake, but because I'm just in love with her character and how God turns things around for her because of her faithfulness. So, moving on, sometimes God's biggest moves comes disguised as ordinary days. Ruth didn't wake up expecting destiny. She just went to work and she showed up faithfully. So when life feels quiet or uneventful, remember this: God writes major stories through small acts of faithfulness. So, when was a time that you felt you were in a random season only to realize later it was divine setup? Let me see if I can turn off. I don't think you guys heard that actually. Turn off the notifications. Whoops. Maybe if I keep my phone unlocked. So, when was a time you thought you were in a random season only to realize later it was divine setup? I can't speak too much on it, but I feel like I'm living that right now. And those that know me personally know exactly what I'm talking about. Let me turn off notifications. Hopefully that works. Sorry if you guys heard that. All right. So, moving on. Naomi tells Ruth to visit Boaz at the threshing floor, a place where grain is separated from chaff. It's symbolic, a night where God separates the true from the false. Ruth lays at Boaz's feet, a gesture of humility and trust, and says, "Spread your garment over me, since you are a kinsman redeemer." That was Ruth, chapter 3, verse 9. This wasn't seduction, it was petition. She was asking for redemption, not romance. Boaz promises to redeem her, but first there's another man with legal rights. Boaz handles it with integrity and honor. I mean, we expect this from Boaz, right? Because he's such a great guy, he's such a class act. So, Boaz found the family redeemer and inquired with him about some outstanding land of Naomi's son. He couldn't redeem it and marry Ruth due to the risk of endangering his estate. So I want to... oh, hello. Thank you for lurking, Jay. Everything's going well. Everything's going well. Been really, really busy. I hope you're doing good. Thank you so much for the lurk. So, Deuteronomy 25:5, and I usually read the New Living Translation when I study. Verses 5 through 10 covers the kinsman redeemer law, and we'll speak on this in just a bit because this I actually learned about this myself recently, and I can't wait to share it with you guys. So Ruth 4:9 through 10 says, "Then Boaz announced to the elders, 'Today you are my witnesses that I have brought from Naomi all of the property of Elimelech. I have also acquired Ruth the Moabite as my wife.'" Front of witnesses, Ruth is redeemed. The outsider becomes a part of the covenant family. The widow becomes a bride. They have a son, Obed, who becomes the father of Jesse, who becomes the father of David, the shepherd king. And from David's line comes Jesus. So, before we connect the dots here, let me bring up something that I made just for this series. You guys probably have seen it the last episode we shared together. This is the family tree that I made for this occasion, and here is Ruth here. So we're going to place her right here next to Boaz, and as we go through the people that we cover, I'll kind of make up this tree. Some people may be shifted around a little bit depending on how much we fill up this tree. I'm not sure how long I'm going to keep the series going. I'm letting the Spirit lead me with that. But last time we were together, we talked about Rahab and how I made this correction from last time. I had Obed here. My bad. So Rahab and Salmon begot Boaz, and Ruth and Boaz begot Jesse, who will be placed on here later. Or he might not. I think I may just skip over to David, or I may have one more woman to cover. But yeah, this is our family tree that we're going to build together. Okay, so Salmon was the father of Boaz, whose mother was Rahab, and this is Matthew 1:5 through 6, and this is what's connecting the dots with as far as lineage. So Salmon was the father of Boaz, whose mother was Rahab. Boaz was the father of Obed, whose mother was Ruth. Obed was the father of Jesse, Jesse the father of King David. And if you're like me, before I really got into studying my Bible, I would kind of skip over the lineage part, because it was like this person begot this person, who begot this person, and it was just this long list that I'm like, oh, thank you. Let me see what that was. I can't even see what that was. Oh, thank you so much for subscribing, TD. Thank you. You dropped another coffee bean in the tip jar. Thank you. Hope you're doing okay. Thanks for popping in. You know how excited I am about this series, so it means a lot that you're here. We were just covering the lineage following Ruth. So we know that Rahab and Salmon begot Boaz, and he married Ruth, who later begot Obed, and Obed, Jesse, David. You know. Yes, yes. So we were talking about how a lot of us, if not all of us, skip over the lineage part of some chapters in the Bible because it's like, oh my gosh, I really have to read this. But it's so interesting now that I'm into this series, we can see who came from who and how it traces all the way back to Jesus. It's so crazy. And if you think about who's a part of his lineage and how many different people and how many different backgrounds these people come from and how it all leads to Jesus. It's like, what? What? So let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. Um, so Boaz is more than just Ruth's husband, he is a symbol of Jesus. A kinsman redeemer, one who pays the price to restore what was lost. Just as Boaz redeemed Ruth, Jesus redeemed us. And he doesn't just rescue us, he restores our lineage, our name, our identity. So, what is wild is that Ruth isn't even an Israelite. She's a Moabite, a nation once cursed and excluded from God's assembly. And in Deuteronomy 23, verse 3 through 4 says, no Ammonite or Moabite or any of the descendants for the 10 generations may be admitted to the assembly of the Lord. These nations did not welcome you with food and water when you came out of Egypt. Instead, they hired Balaam, son of Beor, from Pethor, in distant Aram Naharaim. Oh, I'm butchering this name, to curse you. But grace doesn't care about your origin. It cares about your obedience. Let that sink in. Ruth's faith rewrote her bloodline. Her decision to follow God didn't just change her future, it changed eternity. Maybe you feel like you've come from the wrong place, wrong background, wrong past, wrong start. But God is the master storyteller. He can take the most broken chapters and weave them into his redemptive masterpiece. I will tell you right now that me and my husband come from completely different backgrounds. I was raised to know the principles of that the Bible teaches, right? But I didn't attend church as much as my husband. He was baptized and filled with the Spirit at 8 years old, and I was baptized in my late 20s. So, so actually bringing myself to God, I felt like I was just so late with everything. I did have like a coffee bean of faith that I carried throughout my life because of those principles that were taught to me early, but I didn't fully jump into the faith until only just recently, to be honest. So it did leave me feeling kind of misplaced when it comes to where my faith is. So when my husband talks about how he studies the Bible and how he is in constant communication with God, like he is, it left me feeling like, oh man, I feel like I'm not there yet. I feel like I'm like falling short, But I feel now that I'm going through this series with you, this is Bible study for me. This is my way of spreading the gospel, my own unique way. And it just shows that wherever you come from in life, as long as you come to him, he will ready you. You're not ready when you come to him. He readies you in the process. I hope that makes sense. Yes, amen. So, what is one part of your story that you've seen God redeem or still believe he will? And I want to explain what redemption means in everyday terms for maybe some of you who aren't actively seeking him right now. I want to speak to that. So when you use the word redeem, I want to say in the Bible, redeem means to buy something back or restore what was lost, or to give new purpose to what seemed broken. It's like when something in your life felt over, a relationship, a dream, a part of yourself, somehow it gets a second chance. That's what God does. He takes what's been damaged and gives it meaning again. A simple example would be, think of a story in your life that you wish had gone differently, and imagine God taking that very moment and rewriting a better ending through it. At any time. Yes, yes. There's a saying that is, God doesn't call the ready, he readies the called. So we're going to talk about the kinsman redeemer law. I mentioned that earlier. Deuteronomy 25, 5 through 10 covers that redeemer law. I was reading some sermon notes from a pastor called Chuck Smith, and he wrote that the kinsman redeemer law allowed a widow to marry her husband's brother or nearest relative to bring up their first son in the name of her deceased husband. In the book of Ruth, Boaz served as the kinsman redeemer who was willing to marry the widow Ruth. And this is a beautiful picture of how Christ became our kinsman redeemer to carry on the human race. And there's actually a video that I was watching. It's like a 5-minute video talking about how prophecy is given there's prophecy attached to the book of Ruth because of this kinsman redeemer law. It's like a foreshadowing of what Christ will do for us, the human race, right? So Christ as the kinsman redeemer. Smith taught that this Old Testament concept points to Jesus, who is our kinsman in a spiritual sense. He paid the price to redeem us from sin, which is like a bondage or slavery. He purchased the world and its people to be his own, similar to how Boaz bought the land to gain Ruth as his bride. This redemption was motivated by God's love for us. So, in my own words, even with Ruth being such a short book, multiple lessons can be learned here. So, I want to help you apply this to your own stories with a few gentle prompts. First is reflection. What's one part of your life that you thought was over but somehow turned out differently than you expected? The second one is hope. Is there an area where you're still waiting for a turnaround, a situation you believe could still be restored? And the third one is faith connection. That's what redemption looks like. God doesn't erase the pain, he transforms it into purpose. You can connect this idea to verses that speak plainly about redemption and renewal, so you can go over these for yourself as well. So Romans 8:28 says, God works all things together for the good of those who love him. Joel 2:25 says, I will restore to you the years that the locust has eaten. And 2 Corinthians 5:17 says, if anyone is in Christ, they are a new creation. The old has gone and the new has come. In other words, even the messiest parts of our story aren't wasted. They can become the very chapters God uses to show his love and power. Guys, I can't go into too many details, but me and my family, my immediate family, are literally living this right now. We had our own plans for what we thought was going to happen, or the time frame of when things were going to happen. But things came up later than expected, and through that process, being squeezed, it felt like. Really, we were just being refined. And I can tell you that this past summer, I am closer to God than I've ever been. And I can say the same for our children. I can say the same for my husband. This summer has been something special for us. And it may not look like it on the outside to folks that we have interacted with, but we needed to go through this process of refining in order to get to the next step in our lives. So, just a personal tidbit. It really does happen. What you think looks ugly could something absolutely beautiful when you turn around and look back at it later. So, moving on. What's something in your life that felt broken, lost, or wasted, but somehow ended up turning around for good, or that you still hope can be made right one day? That's something I'd like for all of you to dwell on, even after the stream. Really meditate on that. So, from Moab to Bethlehem, from famine to fullness, from widow to wife, Ruth's story shows that God's redemption always brews quietly before it overflows. Exactly. Gotta wait on the renewal of your strength. Exactly, TD. So next time you sip your coffee, remember this. You may not see it yet, but God is stirring purpose into your pain. You are not forgotten. You are being brewed into the bloodline. Okay. So that is the end of our Brewed in the Bloodline episode 2, the Ruth episode. We spoke about covenant loyalty, divine alignment, petition for redemption, restoration, and lineage, and how it all connects to Christ. It is my absolute joy to bring you this every week, and I will keep doing it until I am led to stop or to take it into a new direction. Ruth's story is definitely one of my favorites in the Bible. I feel like I resonate more and more with her as I get older. I used to hate my name when I was old. I was like, it's such an old lady name. But Ruth in Hebrew means friend to all. And when you read the Bible, her story is that of redemption. It's powerful. I have a powerful name. So, yeah. 7 p.m. sharp, and I'm on time with this one. I will probably be back. What's today? Thursday. I will probably be back sometime next week. I'll probably be back Tuesday for the gaming, and I don't know. My schedule's kind of up in the air right now. Quick side note, working on an interview. Awesome. I can't wait to see that. Like I'm really excited for that. Really excited for that. I love watching the matches now. Shout out to TD. He's doing the thing with the wrestling. TDW is coming up there. I peeped the last time I was in one of your streams that one of your viewers said that you're like up there in the top channels for WWE, I think. We all trying, man. We all trying. So proud of you. But okay, I'm gonna go ahead and go. I've been streaming for 35 minutes. Top 5. Okay, yeah, that's what it was. Top 5. Yes, love it. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna let you guys go. I turn off ads for this, so I think my only source of revenue for this is the tip jar. I don't even think Twitch like logs this as a stream because it's like under an hour each time now. The last one I did, I didn't even see any stats for it. Maybe I'm not looking hard enough. I don't know. But I thank you so much for being here. Thank you for all of your support, everyone who's in here, everyone who popped in. Thank you to my lurkers. Thank you to the biddies that I received from Ace. Thank you, TD, for the subscription. I will try my best to stay as active as possible. And will let you guys know in the Discord if I need to take a break. But I do appreciate your support. Next episode, I'm not sure who I'm covering yet, so stay connected on socials and the Discord for who is coming up next. And and I may be back next week with more Fortnite. We're gonna, keep failing at that until I get better. All right. See you guys later. Let me see if there's anyone on that I can raid. 1 second. Let me see. 1 second. You guys want to see some Claire Obscure? Yeah, let's do that. Okay. Bloodline 27. What is that? Who is that? I've already picked out who I'm gonna raid out to. 1 second. Do that real quick. I believe Fantasy Forge also does Bible study. That's kind of why I'm gonna go ahead and read out to them. But right now they're playing Claire Obscure. I think that's the name of it. There we go. Is it Claire? Fantasy Forged. Yeah. Here we go. Alright. You guys have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for being here. Be blessed. Remember to pray and seek God in all that you do.